All right, so Bret Weinstein is continuing to lose his mind after Elon Musk blocked him on Twitter. If you remember a couple weeks ago, I talked about how Bret mentioned on Joe Rogan's podcast that he kept pestering Elon about not trending enough on Twitter. And then Elon eventually got annoyed with him and said, "Stop spamming me," and blocked him. And of course, Bret is acting all confused by it. Like, why would he block me? I thought we were on the same team. But he just fails to realize how unbelievably annoying he is. Like, honestly, Elon had a lot of patience with him, and I think he handled this pretty well. And I think this is probably one of the funniest things he's ever done. You know, now hearing a grown man who's supposed to be an intellectual crying about how his Tucker Carlson interview isn't trending on Twitter is the funniest thing ever.
It was not trending, which is weird for a Tucker interview, especially one that got as many views as it did. In the aftermath of this Tucker interview, I expected to see that interview and my participation in it trend because so many people saw it. It was like 6 million views in 2 days. So that it was obviously something that was being seen and discussed. And it didn't start trending. And he asked me for more information, and I started to tell him about this trend stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He blocked me. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't think he's on the other team. I don't think...
He blocked you?
Yes. He blocked me, and I'm blocked to this day, which seems strange. The last thing he said was, "Stop spamming me," which was very strange for a guy who said he wanted to have another meeting. Right?
How many messages were you sending him?
3 or 4.
Stop spamming me.
It was very strange. But, look, I don't hold it against him. The guy is obviously... I think it's obvious that he is trying to save the world.
And I like this comment about the clip. They said Joe finds himself in a spot where he has to manage the relationship between his needy friends and rich friends. Interesting to see how his friend group will evolve in the future. And it will be funny to watch for sure. You know, I also like how Bret is saying that Elon is trying to save the world. But at the same time, Bret's treating him like he's Twitter support. Like, he tags him in so many tweets. He's always trying to get his attention. And it's just kind of pathetic. And I think some people just need to explain to him that he's annoying, and that's why Elon blocked him. And actually, thankfully, some people are now, because Bret is always tweeting about it, and the tweets are so cringy. Like, at this point, he just needs to accept it. Like, Elon blocked you, get over it. And he should have expected to get blocked in this situation, because it sounds like it never ends with him, and he's always complaining to Elon about something wrong with his account or wrong with Twitter. And it sounds like his complaints are always like, "I'm not trending enough, I don't get enough engagement." He's always talking about how there are ghosts in the machine. You know, I think that's his new way of saying he's shadow banned on there, even though his tweets do just fine, so I don't know what the hell he's talking about. And it's like he just sits around thinking of different ways to complain to Elon, and he acts like Elon is just sitting around waiting to give him answers and to try to help him out. You know, like this tweet, he said, "Hey Elon, it was much better on Twitter for weeks after you cleaned house. One could detect the thumb was off the scales, which was very cool. Feels like the thumb's back on now, stronger than ever. I know what the haters might say, but you might want to check for ghosts in your machine." And then Elon just responds and says, "I'll investigate." But what does Bret really want? Like, what is he even asking there? It's just like, "Hey, Elon, Twitter sucks. Fix it." You know, what is his complaint here? You know, he's lucky Elon would even respond to that. But, of course, it wasn't enough for Bret. And he continued and said, "Thank you, Elon. I appreciate what you're doing." And then he goes on to say, "While I have you on the line." You know, he is literally just treating Elon like customer service. It's incredible. And then he continues on and says, "There's a Twitter anomaly that is putting COVID dissidents in physical danger. Can't say more without increasing the danger, but could provide exact coordinates to you or a trusted associate over DM." And again, I don't know what he's talking about here. I'm sure Elon doesn't either. You know, and does he really think that after Elon said he'd investigate whatever the hell that other nonsense was, then he'd just move on to this? You know, I think Bret is just coming up with reasons to DM him or something. I mean, he just needs a reality check, which you'd think Elon blocking him would do, but of course not. Even though you can tell Bret is definitely losing sleep over this. He's been talking about it nonstop. You know, he talked about it on Rogan's podcast, Dave Rubin's podcast. He tweets about it all the time, and he's still very confused about the whole thing. And I just find this situation hilarious for so many different reasons. But maybe the best part is at one point Elon said he wanted to remove the block feature. And Bret tweeted about how he thinks that's a terrible decision and the block feature is essential. And of course tagged Elon in it and said he'd be happy to explain it to him. I mean, this guy is just the worst. And he makes no sense. He says if Elon removed the block feature, then it's a threat to free speech. But then when Elon blocks him, he says it's censorship and a threat to free speech. So which is it? I think Bret is just losing his mind at this point, and he has no self-awareness at all. Because also him complaining about blocking being removed is another reason why Elon blocked him. Because earlier that day, Elon said it was pretty funny blocking people who complained about the blocking feature being removed. And then shortly after this, he blocked Bret, which, can you blame him? It sounds like Bret is the most annoying person ever. And Elon, he probably saw this as a great opportunity and he took it, which he played this well, because now Bret has no idea what to do and he's making the cringiest tweets about it. Like one day, it's funny, he complains about how he's not trending, but he was trending, and then Elon was at the same time. So, of course, he took a screenshot of it and said, this is nature's way of telling Elon he should unblock me. And then he also complains a lot about how he can't read Elon's tweets anymore, and he's calling it censorship. Like, just the other day, he said, Elon uses X to shape the world. His tweets matter. When Musk blocks you, you can't see important information readily available to others, not even quoted by a friend. This amounts to a brave new kind of censorship targeted at a particular member of the audience, and then, of course, tagged Elon in it. And a lot of people in the comments are just like, dude, take the L and move on. This is just getting embarrassing at this point. And it's also funny because he's the one that liked the blocking feature. He wanted it to stay on the platform. So he just sounds like such a hypocrite because now he's saying when somebody blocks him, it's censorship somehow. So there's no winning with this guy. And people in the comments had to explain to him that this isn't how censorship works. Like, he has the right to block you if he wants to. And people are saying you're just being annoying and that's why he blocked you. And Bret just sounds so delusional here, because then he went on and said, I'm not saying this is Musk's intent. It seems likely to me that he doesn't even realize how different X looks after his block. So now he's basically saying Elon doesn't even understand how the blocking feature works, when, again, he's the one that wanted to remove it, and it's his platform. I think he would understand how Twitter works at this point. I think he knows when people block you, you can't read their tweets. So he's just getting desperate, you could tell. And I would have loved to see his initial reaction right after he got blocked by Elon. That was probably like the worst moment of his life. And now he just sounds so out of it. To act like this is a brave new form of censorship because Elon blocked you on Twitter. And then also to act like Elon doesn't understand how the platform works and that you won't be able to read his tweets and it's like a mistake he made or something. It's just so funny. Also, to think that Bret believes that this is going to help at all, like Elon's going to see this or somebody's going to tell him and he's going to be like, oh shit, my bad. He's going to see this and be like, I definitely made the right decision here. This guy is annoying as hell. But I guess we'll see. There still is a small chance maybe Joe talks to Elon and he gives him a second chance, but I highly doubt it. Let me know what you guys think, and then make sure you check out my Patreon account if you want to hear about Eric Weinstein, the time Tim Dillon just destroyed him by asking what he's ever done, and then he went on Joe's podcast and completely embarrassed himself. So if you want to hear about that, or the downfall of Milo Yiannopoulos, or just a ton of other videos, I think there are over 70 on there at this point. I post every week. So make sure you go check it out, put a link in the description, and then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.